Larry and I will be able to talk about because Larry sat and watched me play it. Oxenfree from Night School Studio.
Sounds like hide and seek.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting game. You want to kind of give them a rundown? Since I've talked a lot.
So the game opens, you're on this boat on your way out to an island. And the first thing that I noticed about this game was graphically it's a real low kind of thing. It's just very pixel side scroller kind of stuff, very retro style. But the voice acting in the game is excellent.
Yeah.
The conversations flow really naturally. And you make choices within the conversations. And the choices aren't clunky at all. And if you answer before the other person's done talking, you interrupt, and sometimes they make a comment about it. Sometimes they just I am impressed with how naturally this conversation's flowed.
Yeah,
it was good. But you're going to this island. There's like this school tradition every year. The juniors, I think, or the seniors. I think it's juniors.
Yeah,
they get together on this old, mostly abandoned island that used to have a military base and basically get drunk and have a party. And the setup to every horror thing. And
Battle Royale.
And there's weird stuff that's been happening, like rumors. You could stand in the edge of this cave and catch these weird radio frequencies that shouldn't be transmitting. And long story short, you wind up doing that and you unleash something. And I didn't get to find out what that something was, but
and I won't ruin what the something is, but
things go kind of crazy.
Yeah. So you're playing as these teenagers, and the dialogue of the game really captures the angst of those years, and the characters are kind of annoying but kind of endearing at the same time, and they're
annoying in the way that real teenagers are annoying.
Yeah.
That was real, yes.
It's like I see the potential of your personality, but we have to get beyond just the angst of being a teenager, and it's captured just so perfectly. I immediately decided I was just going to be a jerk to everybody in my playthrough, and I won't spoil how that playthrough went, but a lot similar to a Telltale game, but different in the sense of there's different ways that they can end. Your dialogue choices affect your relationships with everybody.
Are they like? Do you say exactly what the dialogue box says?
No.
See, that's the thing.
But there was never a time I picked a dialogue choice and it said something that I was like,
okay,
that's not what I meant.
Fallout, man.
Yeah. Oh,
you're like, you choose the option of no, and he's like, don't you ever do that? I'll rip your head off. And like craziness. I'm like, I just want to say no.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
But it's a lot like Fallout or a Telltale game in the sense of, like, your Y response is a certain personality kind, your X response is a certain personality kind, your B response, like where you've got the aggressive, you've got the kind of positive response or the empathetic response or whatever.
And so Luke just mashed the mean response every time.
I interrupted everybody.
He mashed the mean response and he mashed it early.
But it does horror so well. It's more of a play on 80s style horror than anything. Very the soundtrack of it is very electronic. The use of the radio waves, the use of Morse code in the soundtrack is very interesting. There's hidden Morse code throughout it.
Cool.
It kind of sets the mood. Just the angst of the characters, all of the kind of tropey different things where like you've got this stepbrother that's just recently moved in and you're trying to kind of establish the boundaries and figure out what that relationship is. You've got your best friend who's of the opposite sex trying to get with another girl that's on the trip. And so it kind of plays up on all those tropes, but in a really creative, and I would say the dialogue is much more realistic than any 80s horror movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. It had the tropes, but not to the point of being cheesy.
Yeah.
In that way, it reminds me of Until Dawn.
Yeah.
And they even did it a little better than Until Dawn, I think.
MP Biles asked if I knew Morse code. No, I don't. And but I read about the Morse code being in there, and I want to go back and read what the Morse code says to you. But again, like it's all about this military base, this abandoned military base, and you're trying to figure out what happened to it, and it's just horror done very creatively. You have this like 2D side scroller thing, and the art style is really interesting. But it still somehow created jump scares within it.
Which is real crazy for that art style.
Yeah. And it really plays up on time, like issues with time. There's some time travel stuff where you'll get caught in these loops, and the game tries to make you think that it's sort of like a puzzle that you're trying to solve, but it really isn't. They're kind of just pre-scripted that you go through the loop X amount of times before things happen. But it gets you questioning what's reality and what isn't reality. And that carries out throughout the entire game, where even at the end, you're kind of unsure of what happened. But not in that, oh, I'm confused, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But in that, a week later, I'm still thinking about it kind of way. So it's like $20 or $15 on the Xbox store, and I would highly recommend it. Even you, Larry, like you only got to see about 4 hours of gameplay. There's another 5 after that, and a lot of interesting things that happen during it. There are several puzzles in it that you do have to solve, but it's definitely worth it. My review in a word, I didn't think about this. I would say natural, very natural dialogue, natural relationship and character development within it. It's good. I enjoyed it a lot. So, Empty Vial says it gives you that Inception feeling where you don't know if he was still trapped and the top is spinning forever or if he's out and the top will fall down. And that is kind of how you get left of just like, I don't know what happened, but I want to know what happened, and I'm going to try to think through it. I haven't deleted it off my Xbox yet. I'm probably going to try to go back and play through it again. So,
Now, are we in consensus that the top was not his totem? It was his wedding ring?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it was his wife's because it was in the box or the safe.
All right. Let's move on to everybody's